Hi Lois, so we are here today outside the Crystal Palace versus Wolves football match. Why are we here? What are we doing
We're
here?
here because I want to talk to my MP, Steve.
Steve Reed.
He's on the wrong side, and he's been on the wrong side ever since he took that money from the water bosses.
So
And I've got a few words to tell him. I mean, he's so proud of the things that he's doing.
Steve Reed, the Environment Minister, he's in charge of regulating the water industry, our privatised water industry. And so the story that we've got here is him taking £1,786 in hospitality for a football match, Crystal Palace versus Chelsea, from the owner of a privatised water company, Northumbrian Water, which is owned by C.K. Hutchison. And so you thought Steve Reed accepted this money from privatised water. So what about going to a football match with you?
Yeah, he needs to hear our side of things. And we know, because we're experiencing the hikes in bills and the terrible spills of pollution, we know all about the fact that private water just doesn't work. And I need to put him straight about this.
So did you invite him to come to this football match with you today?
I did, and I've been sending him a message every day for weeks.
Every day for weeks.
Yeah.
So we at We Own It sent an official email and we got an acknowledgement back, and there was no reason given as to why Steve Reed wouldn't come to the football with Lois. And then you've been saying every day, putting out videos on social media, telling Steve Reed that you want him to come to this match. And what's happened? Any response at all?
No response at all from what I can see. And he's just not shifting. He's not
shifting. So we have an Environment Minister who will go to the football with the hospitality funded by C.K. Hutchison, but will not go to the football with his own constituent, Lois, who is representing the 8 out of 10 people who want public ownership of water. So if Steve Reed was here tonight, what would you want to be saying to him?
Well, the first thing I'd want to know is why that Water Commission can't look at bringing water back into public ownership.
Yeah. So we have the biggest review of the water industry since privatisation. Steve Reed has ruled out the idea of public ownership being included in that review. And is it a coincidence that he ruled it out after meeting water industry bosses at the football? So that's what you'd say to him.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be ruling out public ownership, which is how 90% of the world runs water.
Yeah. And then the other thing is, whenever you write to him about this mess in the water sector, he's very proudly quotes his Water Special Measures Act, and I don't see anything in that act that's really going to make a difference. He claims that it'll stop bonuses to the big bosses, but I heard my water company, Thames' bosses, at the select committee last week, and they were claiming that those 50% of salary guaranteed bonuses were all part of the $3 billion deal.
Yeah.
And then dear old Adrian, I think Adrian Montague, the chair, said today that was, I forget how he put it, but
he misspoke.
He said he mistook.
Because essentially what's happened is households in the Thames Water region bailed out Thames Water when it was collapsing under its own debt mountain. Every household spending around £250 added to their water bill. We know how much water bills have gone up. People outside the stadium have been saying in response to this how much their water bills have been going up and how angry they are. And yet Thames Water executives taking a bonus from that money that we gave for the bailout, which is just taking the mickey, really, isn't it? And it's astonishing. And Steve Reed could have brought Thames Water into public ownership very easily using existing legal powers on, two bases. One, Thames Water was collapsing, so financially he could have done it. Two, Thames Water pouring sewage into our rivers. That's the other basis on which he could have taken Thames Water into public ownership, and he didn't. So he really seems to be just totally aligned with the privatised water industry instead of actually listening to people like you, people like us.
Yeah. And we just get more and more examples of Thames Water and all the water companies, frankly, taking the lead.
Yeah, and I think what we need people to understand is however much you hear this government talking about bonuses and how they're clamping down on bonuses. The reason they're talking about that is because it sounds like big talk. The reality is it's not the fundamentals of what's going on, because what's actually going on is these private water companies are draining out your money from your bills into their dividends, and those are all going overseas. So the company CK Hutchison, which took Steve Reed to the football match, based in Hong Kong and the Cayman Islands. So money draining out in dividends and money draining out in paying the incredibly high interest payments on the debt mountains that these water companies have racked up. So that's where the serious money is going, and sort of pointing to, oh, well, we're going to be a bit harder on this individual water boss, who is anyway earning, the average for water bosses is, I believe, 2 million a year. It might be more like 3 million a year. So they're earning lots of money. Okay, it's already outrageous. That's really not what we need to be focusing on. We need to be looking at the dividends, and we need to be looking at the debt, because what we found in our research is actually privatisation is such a bad deal for the public that under any scenario of compensating the shareholders for all that they haven't done, even if you compensate shareholders to the level that the government says you'd need to, it's still a better deal for the public purse, because we're wasting all of that money right now. So that's what we'd be talking to Steve about. And I would also be talking to him about the chalk streams, which the government is failing to protect. And I think it's devastating. I think it's heartbreaking what this government is allowing to happen. And if we had public ownership, there could be more investment in stopping sewage, so that that wouldn't be flowing into our chalk streams. You could stop water companies like Southern Water from extracting water in chalk streams. But also we could have a little bit of accountability built in, because our model for public ownership of water says we bill payers should be holding companies to account, workers, community groups, anti-sewage groups, environmental groups, alongside local politicians. So we could be all holding these water companies to account instead of letting them damage our chalk streams, damage our rivers and seas, while putting up our bills for the privilege of what they're doing.
And selling our reservoirs.
And selling our reservoirs.
Pipe.
Exactly. Thanks for being here, Lois. Thanks, everyone. Please share this video and send the message to Steve Reed. He needs to be listening to his constituents. He needs to be listening to the public. And if privatised water can buy him, we would like to give him some hospitality. And if he wants to come to a football match with us in future, he can come anytime. He's really missing a big one here.